Yeah, it's Cash. Get him. DJ Deuce McGuire, this hot as a log fire. Spark the lighter in the 303. We wrestle at the quarry. Golden, Colorado. Mercury Pro Wrestling Academy. Elevated wrestling. Yeah. Hashtag follow if you know the motto. Can't stop now. Got the need for speed. Combustion and concussion. Championships in my vision. I put the key in the ignition. Such an easy decision. I got a hustler's ambition. Wrestling at its best. Welcome to the show I put on for Rocky Mountain Pro. Let's go.
RMP Radio is back on the air. Hi, I am your host, Mr. Fourth Row, and the continuing slew of returning guests to RMP Radio. We have Porter Blake. Porter, how you doing?
Doing all right. How about yourself?
I'm doing just fine. So, like we do here on RMP Radio, we get to know a little bit more about the person behind the wrestler and what they kind of do outside of the wrestling ring. And outside for you, one of the things you do is you're a personal trainer. How did you get into that?
Well, for me, it started out with that first the client, because back in the day, I was about 230 pounds. My knees would crack every time I squatted. I wasn't really in that great of shape. It was surprisingly moved decently, but overall, I was just kind of eh. And then after about 6 months of working with a trainer myself, I got down to 190, 195, which is the lowest I'd been since high school, or I should say since Russia, but since high school, basically, of my recorded weight. And I then, after moving up here to Denver, I ended up talking to the head trainer up here and talked about how it would be possible to work as a trainer, and I never really thought of it, but I started doing the intern program for it, and I just really enjoyed it and decided, you know what, this would be a great job to have. And I learned the trade and got myself a couple of certifications and started doing it.
Oh, fantastic. So what kind of, once you got into it, what was kind of like really clicking for you that you just enjoyed and said, oh, I got to go full Monty on this, go all out?
Well, it's a lot better than working retail, that's for sure. But yeah, those retail jobs can suck it. But just being able to work with people and have them figure out how to move their body in a healthy manner and to be able to see people's progress was really awesome. Just seeing them understand what it means to be able to properly squat out, properly, pick weights up, put them down, all that linger there. But yeah, just being able to see people transform in front of your eyes and be able to see how happy they are that they finally are getting it and are able to do it.
Oh, that's fantastic. And okay, I'm gonna I maybe shoot on myself, and I know you and I've talked before this, and I still gotta make it. I just gotta find. Do you hear this excuse a lot? Gotta find time to get in there and do that. And like I said, I want the education, and like you were just saying, about movement and stuff like that. So yeah, so I still got to get in and see you.
Yeah, you do.
You have any success stories that come up to mind doing this?
Oh, actually, yeah. One of my longtime clients, she was one of my first clients. Her name is Mary. She's 4'11", nurse, and she had actually broken her ankle in a snowboarding accident. And because of that, she, of course, wasn't doing as much physical activity, was off it for a while, put on a bunch of weight, things of that nature, which usually happens with something like that. And we literally rebuilt her to where now, like before, she would be in situations where she'd have to move 300-plus pound men sometimes, just due to, things happening in a hospital as they do sometimes.
Right.
And now, even though she works ICU, she works, with infants and everything, she still, however, now when needs to, can be called up to go back to moving those men like they're nothing, because she knows how to move her body really well. She's got a lot strong, she's stupid strong now. She's able to move weights that you wouldn't think she'd be able to with her size, and she just really knows what she's doing. It's really awesome.
Right. So, what's like your philosophy doing training? Is it a little bit of just 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 like strength, as in being able to maneuver stuff, or actually the raw power of picking something up heavy? I mean, what's your philosophy, or what's your thoughts on all that? What do you like to do?
My big thing is functional training, so functional strength and functional conditioning.
Okay.
Because the reality is, like, we're not all of our body types are necessarily going to be ones that you're going to get six pack abs or whatever. Like, if you see me on TV, you do not see me six pack abs. That's mainly because I'm also horrible about my nutrition, which I need to fix. But um, but the thing is, in everyday life, like, you go, like, a lot of people have kids, a lot of people, or if you don't have kids yourself, you have nieces, nephews, friends that have kids, that you're going to be running around with them, you're going to be playing with them. You got to be able to pick them up, throw them around without hurting yourself, or, carrying the groceries, walking, even for some of my older clients, going up and down stairs can be a risk sometimes because the stability isn't as good as it used to be. They're lost some strength in their legs that needs to be rebuilt. Things like that happen all the time. But if I can make it to where in your everyday life, whatever you're doing, if you can do it safely and you have the strength behind it to make sure that your muscles are protecting your joints and that you're able to move without potentially hurting yourself, that's my big thing. I want to make it to where you can go, you can have fun with the kids, you can go have fun running with your dog, doing whatever it is that you do in your everyday life, and be able to keep doing it for a long time.
Ah, I see, definitely. So what's your message to like clients when they are, showing a interest into doing this, and and then maybe the continued adventure of getting into personal training, and to get more fit, or like you said, being able to function their body a lot better.
Well, my big with that is, one, do you enjoy doing this? Do you enjoy coming to the gym? Do you enjoy working with people intimately? Because, like, for me, I've built a relationship with a lot of people here in the gym just because I work with them so closely. I see them every week, and I see them on good weeks. I see them on bad weeks. I see them on weeks when, something rough's happened within the family. And literally that day, I might just be more of a therapist where I'm just there listening to their problems and helping them get through it. So it's a matter of, like, are you a people person? Because if you're not a people person, this might not work out for you in being a personal trainer. But if you're able to, you're able to help people through their problems and then help them, like, use the weights as therapy, because literally that's what it is. I've had that with some of my clients where it's literally been a therapy session.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, here, we're going to freaking throw these weights around, get some aggression out. You're going to tell me what's up, and we're gonna walk away from this. You're gonna be tired, you're gonna be sweaty, but you're also gonna feel a lot of relief because you've been able to get that weight off your shoulders, both physically and mentally. And so that's the big thing I would say for anyone who has come from, like I have, hopped that fence from being the client to the trainer, is if you can handle being a people person and being able to help people through their problems, because that's one of the most rewarding parts, honestly, is just being able to help people with that. Some of the sucky parts, though, is also having people that just ghost you and are just like, I'm never doing this again.
Oh, what do you think is going on there? Is it just motivation that they are low on, or just other things, or what's your thoughts on that?
There's usually some factors involved with it. The smallest one I've ever seen is money. Money is usually, like, the last actual factor, but it's the most used excuse. Money's the most used excuse, because in reality, if you were good on your budgeting, you'd be able to find, like, I'm not an expensive trainer. Voss Fitness is not an expensive program. It's really not. Like, you could probably find $35-$40 for a week, every week. Like, if you cut out a couple of drinks over the weekend, you cut out some of the bull crap drive-through menu foods and cooked more at home, right? Took a few minutes to do that. Like, or you just had one day where you're like, okay, I'm going to cook these meals. I'm going to set them in the fridge. That way it takes me 2 minutes to heat them up in the microwave and still have them over the week, right? There's ways to do it if you really want to do it. Sometimes motivation is sometimes the factor in that, where it's either they personally don't see the progress in themselves, or they're looking for gratification out of something. Sometimes that might be the case. And other times it's just like you lose your drive, where sometimes you plateau and it's like they're trying to fight through that plateau and something's just not quite working. Or, I don't know, there's a few different excuses out there in the world, but honestly, it's a matter of how bad do you really want it, So yeah, it does really usually come down to motivation. How bad do you really want it? Do you understand that this does happen when you progress? You will plateau. It's just, but you're going to plateau for a little bit. We're going to keep pushing through, and we're going to break through to the next level. I've seen that in so many of my clients where it's like they get down about themselves because something's not quite there currently, or they've plateaued, but it's like, all right, give it a couple of weeks. Next thing you know, we've upped the weight in our deadlifts, we've upped the weight in our squats, we've gotten stronger, we're able to have a better heart rate, you're burning more calories because of it, because now your heart rate's better, you can push yourself even harder.
Oh, yeah. So, I don't know if you, one thing that I just kind of know, and this kind of is life in general, and I don't know if you are familiar with Cesar Millan, the dog whisperer.
Mm-hmm.
One of his things is with the dogs, sometimes you just got to get the mind going into tasks per se to get them over their, behavior issues. And this, to me, that kind of is a little bit, if I can, go out on a limb, that it's kind of along a parallel so that if people are having like motivation issues in this case for exercising and all this kind of stuff like that, sometimes you just have to get your client's mind just moving and thinking about nothing but this, and like you said, it's going to be therapeutic. Do you kind of agree?
Yeah, well, that's one of the things too, is that like I try to be rigorous with people about scheduling. Like I tell them to start straight up, right now, I want you in this gym at least 3 days a week for this first month, and then we're going to bump it up after that. Because once you build that habit of coming in, it's hard to break it. Or I should say, once you build that habit, it becomes easier to come in.
Right.
And then once, of course, you break the habit, sometimes harder to hop on. But if you have that healthy habit of coming in, and then let's say, for instance, I've got you doing a one-on-one with me, in the middle of the gym with me, but then I have you in 2 other classes going on in this club throughout the week. Those people get used to seeing you, and then those people are also asking, what's up, what's happening, where are you? So then that community gets built along with the habit. And then now you're not just coming in because of the class or because of me, but because you're now working with other people who are either have the same goals or similar goals as you, which always makes it easier. Because it's like, because I know, for instance, you have recreational volleyball. It's a lot easier to go play because you know the people. And you're like, hey, guys, what's going on? Hey, man, we missed you last week. What happened? Oh, like, I had this and this come up with the family. Oh, man, it sucks to hear. Man, let's see if we can make you feel better, That community gets built, and then it becomes that much easier to come because now it's like, oh, hey, I got people expecting me. I got friends I'm going to see there. It's going to be awesome.
Oh, that's great. So, your gym there, you when you have people coming 3 times a week, they're in a class each one of those days that they come in.
I try to have them do that, yeah, because then again it helps to turn the brain off because there's someone running the class that's telling you what to do, when to do it, how to do it, everything like that. So again, it just helps to turn off the brain, not having to overthink things, and just being like everything's focused on the exercises at that moment.
Yeah. So you're tag teaming with other trainers.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah,
everything is wrestling.
Yeah, I was gonna say we had to bring the wrestling in it somehow. Well, that's fantastic. I love that. That's great. So, I guess we kind of got that, really, really covered. So, what about yourself when it comes to your training? What do you what do you like to do for yourself? And I know you also like to try. I know, for example, you like to try different things, and you have no idea what to call them. You know, these particular exercises. How'd that all come about and everything?
Well, some of it is, of course, I follow some other pages on Instagram, Real Game Athletics, Pierre's Elite Performance, places like that is meant more for advanced athletes, professional athletes, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it's being able to watch them, understand what exactly they're targeting, and see how much of a challenge it is. Because I do like that oftentimes in my own workouts. It's like, all right, what can I do to challenge myself with this, or things like that. So, for instance, there was one I saw that involved a sled. Now, usually with a sled, most people do one of two versions. They either try to like just push the sled really fast and see how fast they can do it, or they load it up and see how heavy they can freaking push that sucker and just drive with each step. This version I saw was more of an explosion version where you would have to pivot and 2 steps and then push it off all in one motion. So almost like if, say, football, you're trying to drive as a lineman, trying to drive the other lineman back. And I thought it was very intricate because, of course, it was talking about just the body control in it, still getting the explosion all the way from the ground through your hands to be able to move it, and just seeing what weight I could do and how many pushes it took me to go 30 yards with it was kind of interesting in that. So those kind of little things, and just being able to see, okay, what exactly does this work? And because it doesn't always say it in the video, they're just like, here's the video, here's who's doing it, here's what it's called. And then I'm like, all right, let's find out.
Okay.
So I like to use myself as an experiment. And then if I deem it a doable experiment for my clients, I'll sometimes throw my clients in on it too.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so with you being a personal trainer and got, of course, access to the gym, of course, when you're training clients and things like that, do you think it gives you a little bit of a advantage in the ring against your opponents?
I would actually say it does, because then I can notice little movements in them, because I'm constantly watching people's movements all day, and their hips, their knees, their foot placement, the way their hands go. It does give me a little bit, because then I can sometimes find out which joints or which way in their coordinations they lack in, which allows me to target them better.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, but what about so if we had to maybe break the fourth wall on that a little bit, do you give any solicited or unsolicited advice to your brothers in the wrestling industry about, hey, I noticed this, in your kind of movements and things like that. Have you ever tried, doing exercises that may help you with this, or vice versa? Do they ask about, hey, something doesn't seem right doing this, and you can give them some advice, hey, try these exercises if you can get that straightened out or something like that?
Oh yeah, so actually it's really funny is I don't charge them, because that would be breaking contracts that I don't need to do, because I want to be able to keep getting paid.
Right.
But also I have actually in the past where it's like someone who's newer in training or something like that, where I'm like, hey, you're having trouble here or something. Like, I'll often tell people, if you're having trouble with your knees, split squats is always one I will recommend, because split squats helps to strengthen, of course, the quads. It helps to single the legs out, but also really helps with the knee stability and the fact that you're having to concentrate on one leg at a time in these situations. So I always recommend split squats in those. So little movements like that. And then also I've had a series with our current RMP champion, Marlon Bishop, where we'll go and we'll talk about certain exercises that he's never done before. And I'll be like, oh, yeah, this is how you do it. Try this out real quick. And sometimes I'll have a TRX strap set up, or a kettlebell or a barbell set up in the locker room, and show him, have him try it out real quick.
Yeah, awesome. That's cool.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, so changing gears here a little bit. One other thing that we're going to talk about is you've recently joined the ranks of Fatherhood. How has that been?
Oh, freaking love it. It's incredible. My little one is actually going to be 1 year old on the 17th here in November, which I know this will release after that, but she'll be a year old when this comes out and everything. And it's amazing to watch her grow. And you know, it's actually really funny is one of her favorite people is possibly one of the creepiest looking people in Rocky Mountain Pro is Abaddon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so ever since she was, I think probably about 4 or 5 months old, like whenever she'd see Abaddon, she would light up. Like, it's the funniest thing in the world. Because they're like, oh, yeah, the one who looks like a murderous zombie clown every once in a while. Oh, yeah, that's your favorite person. Okay, cool. But yeah, she's surprisingly strong. Like, she has smacked me in the face several times before, and I'm always shocked by how strong her slap can be. Like, I'm surprised I haven't showed up with like a little purple handprint on my face sometimes, because she hits hard. We've had to break her of that habit, obviously, but she's strong. She's not quite walking, but she should be soon enough. It's funny though, she'll stand up and won't even think about the fact she's standing up, but then she realizes she's standing up and is like, no, I don't want to do this, and we'll squat down and get back to the floor.
Yeah.
Like, come on, stop tasing me.
So what so far have been like the most surprising things and becoming a father and having a child that you thought you were prepared for, but you found out that you weren't?
Well, whenever she's sick is always a little throw around at you, because it's like she's usually a happy, healthy, bouncing baby, and then when she's sick, it's, crud, now we're going to have to give her a bottle every couple hours, make sure she's staying hydrated, and then because she's sick, she doesn't want to go anywhere. She just wants to stay cuddled up on you, which the cuddling part's not bad, but it's also the crap. Now I'm stuck and I can't move. I can't do anything. She's passed out on my chest. Crap. I'm going to be here for a while.
Yeah, and so, can I multitask or not multitask? That is the question, right?
Yeah, no, there is no multitasking when she's sick. There is zero multitasking. It is all her, nothing but her. Like, she takes all of it when she's sick. And then the funny part is realizing when traveling, because we've traveled with her a few times, is that it was easier to travel with her before she was 6 months, when she was still just a little potato, basically, versus now, because now all she wants to do is move around and go everywhere, and it's like, hey, we're on a plane, kind of can't do that.
Yeah, there was a switch turned on then at that point.
Oh, major switch. Once she figured out that crawling and moving and everything, there's no sitting still with her, ever. She plays with a toy for like 10 seconds, and it's on to the next.
Yeah, and I've actually seen that a few times. I've seen her at the quarry, so yeah, I've seen that in person. So. Oh yeah. All right. Well, anything else that's any stories so far in the 1 year that just kind of light you up and.
I'm trying to think. Well, one of the things is played peekaboo into a point now where she will play peekaboo with us. So she'll end up like taking a blanket, putting it in front of her face, and then pulling down, going and we all have to act like surprised, like So that's one of the funny things with her. It's just her figuring out how to play a game, and just seeing that, like, even though she's so little and so young, that her brain actually works pretty well, and the fact that she's able to like copy and learn so quickly.
Yeah.
And so, I'm trying to think of like good funny story with her, but I'm like going brain dead at the moment.
What about any interesting stories with her being about with all the wrestlers?
Oh, well, actually, it's really funny. So you remember a few months back we had Uncle Bob, Tim Hughes, Brutal Bob Inc.,
Yeah.
and they had Wildman Congo with them, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And so it was really funny. So my wife was out driving, and I was taking care of Maddie in the locker room, and she was being really fussy. I was actually having like a really hard time with her. And Congo literally held her, put the bottle in her mouth, pressed her up close to his chest, and she passed out in like 30 seconds and then went right to sleep. And Congo was able to put her down I had a playpen in the back for her to sleep in, and he laid her down, and she stayed asleep for the rest of the show.
Oh wow, fantastic! So that's amazing. This character that is asking if you can survive the concrete jungle, was able to be such a sweet influence and get your daughter to sleep.
Yeah, Mr. Can You Survive the Concrete Jungle is able to be a super big softy and put my baby to sleep. Yeah.
I'll have to ask him that when I see them. I'll have to ask him about that. That's funny.
Oh yeah, it is. It really is.
That's great. Okay. Yeah. Well, all right. Well, switching topics here again. So when you and I talked before, and when you previously talked with the previous host of RMP Radio, Austin Reddick, talking about you're a big churchgoer, and one of the things that you had done is you were a missionary over in Russia, and that's what we know. That's where some character named Vlad kind of came from. So what was what was the kind of fun things that you had there doing the missionary work? And you've done it even in the United States too, I assume, right?
No, my missionary,
just was in Russia,
as a full-time missionary, it was just in Russia. But of course, I have assisted with missionaries here in the States and everything like that.
Okay.
So I mean, I've helped with service projects and everything like that. One of the funnest things I remember, and it's a dumb one, but it's really just, to me, was kind of a nice one, was we were helping a hospital by shoveling the snow off the parking lot and everything. And of course, with that, we all just, of course, became giant idiots at one point and just started throwing the largest snowballs we could potentially make at each other. Like, literally, because we'd be shoveling, and because the snow was still kind of stiff at the moment, you literally would end up like boulder-sized pieces of snow ice mix, and we would just try to chuck it at each other. And then when we got inside the hospital, it was a kids' hospital, I remember trying to move these old operating tables here, trying to get rid of them. And these operating tables are like 500 pounds each. And oh my gosh, this is some of the heaviest things I've ever had to move in my life. And I remember trying to budget by myself at one point, and my hand slipped, and my bicep hit against it, my right arm. And then the next thing you know, I had a freaking what's the term I'm looking for? Well, in the South they would call it a Bible bump, because they would try to pop them with a Bible or a big thick book.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, I can't remember the actual scientific term right now off the top of my head. This is gonna drive me insane. But yeah, I got one of those in my bicep the next morning. I woke up and I'm like, this is an odd bump. I'm like, what the junk? And I had that for like a solid 3 weeks. Luckily, it went away on its own, so no surgery or anything, or having to take a book to it to pop it or anything was needed. But it was just kind of one of the funny things that happened because of it.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, so what got you interested in doing the missionary work?
Well, for me, it's growing up. It's one of the things that is recommended to young men as we get older to do. And then as we were going, I eventually just wanted to do it. One big reason for myself, I felt it was needed to be done. And then after that, it was also because I'd seen the look in my father's eyes. My father, he himself, didn't serve a mission, and I'd see that regret in his face sometimes,
Oh,
and it would be really difficult to see sometimes. And I
oh,
didn't want to live with that regret myself.
oh, I see. So was your dad a big influence? Getting you into the church and doing missionary work and things of that nature.
Yes, I mean, my dad, he taught me from pretty much the day I was born. And, I'd seen a lot of my older friends as we were growing up. They would go and come back, and seeing what happened to them, how they changed and everything like that, and the positivities that came out of it for them. And then just, being able to understand what it is I was sharing with people and how important it was to me, and being able to potentially share that with others was just a really big highlight for me.
Awesome. That's cool. What's been like the most rewarding things in doing this?
So the biggest things, most rewarding things for doing this was just being able to see people become happier, or to see that there is a happier outcome. Because a lot of people, unfortunately, in Russia especially, see life as you're born, you have a crappy life, potentially, and then you die and there's nothing.
Yeah, like the dread of going day to day.
Yeah, and not understanding that there is something bigger, something better out there.
Well, that's fantastic. Any memorable stories or people that you encountered on doing this?
Oh yeah, there was several. I remember there was this one older gentleman who we'd have at church. He was an interesting guy, Yuri Ivanovich. He was not the healthiest of men. Of course, most older men in Russia are not that healthy at all. But it was funny because we often would go to his place early on Sunday mornings to help escort him to church and everything, to make sure he got home safe, and just the way he would talk about things, and just because his mind, he was there for the most part, but there were a lot of times, like, pretty sure he wasn't diagnosed while we were there, but I was pretty sure that he actually had Alzheimer's.
Oh,
So sometimes he would look at things in almost like a childlike manner, and then other times he would really see what was going on, but he would still just he'd always have a smile on his face whenever he saw us, and was always happy to be there and be included with everybody. So that was always fun. And then there were times where we would go and we would end up hanging out with some of the members just hanging around with some of the members of the church in town, and grabbing a bite to eat. And there was, for about a month or so, where we would get up early in the morning and go work out with each other.
oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And that was just in one of the towns. I was in 4 different cities in my time there, and each one of them had their own different feel. But all that I was just talking about was in this small little town. It's the smallest town I lived in, called Novokuznetsk, which translates to the new smith, or new blacksmith.
Ah,
And it's funny, for Russia it's a small town, but there were still 600,000 people that lived there.
wow, really?
Yeah. It's just because all the cities are built basically off of rivers, and instead of they don't like to expand their cities so much. So usually it was nothing but apartment complexes. So you'd see where there would be old school communist built apartment complexes that are literally these basic 5 floors by 5 staircase apartment buildings with 3 to 4 apartments on each floor. So you'd end up having these buildings that host anywhere from, doing the math real quick, 75 to 100 apartments in a building. And then, of course, from there, newer age buildings, which are a lot better, a lot more colorful. and everything, that are even bigger. So.
Yeah. And so, you said that they basically just congregate these cities just along the river. So you just got these really long, skinny cities that if they expanded out, they would be just little plots instead of running through it like per se like the movie.
Yeah, well, not really long, skinny cities. Like it'd be almost like if you looked at it on a map,
Yeah.
it'd almost be a circle actually,
Okay.
for the most part. But a lot of them, the rivers goes either right through the center or just off center for a lot of them.
Oh.
Yeah, and they like literally they don't hardly expand their cities because it'd be more construction that has to be done. Because then, of course, you have to build more schools, you have to build more hospitals, you have to build more roads, and all that. Versus, hey, let's demolish this set of apartments and build new ones in their place and just make them taller.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hence why they have cities that have hundreds of thousands of people in them, but yet are still considered small.
Oh, okay. I got you. Yeah. So, I mean, heck, we have trouble sometimes expanding cities in the United States and expansion and here you got the so there's a lot of old world and new world type stuff mixed, construction, that kind of stuff mixed all
You
together.
see it all the time.
Yeah.
In fact, here's another funny story is so we were helping a member do some reconstruction inside his home, and instead of getting new floorboards for his home, he was just taking out the old ones, resanding them, and then putting them back down.
Taking them out and resanding?
Yes.
Wow.
He would take out the floorboard, resand it, and put it back down.
Instead of doing it in place.
But yeah, instead of doing it in place. So you clean up the sides and all that stuff, even the stuff you don't look at necessarily, and then put it right back down so the floorboards would sit somewhat better with each other.
Okay.
But I'm like, wait, so you're just going to keep the old boards? No new wood at all?
Yeah.
Okay.
And just curious, how good of condition were his floorboards? I mean, I apologize, but we're talking, communism, Russia, etc.
Yeah, no, you can definitely tell that these floorboards had been there for a while.
Yeah.
They were not newer by any means. So it was just literally you'd look at it and be like, pretty sure these boards are almost as old as you, and you've got to be about 30 something, almost 40. Yeah, I think it's about time to replace these floorboards.
Yeah, they definite need of an upgrade, huh?
Yes, but I mean, that's just what he was doing, and I was like, okay, we're not here to judge you, we're just here to help. So we did whatever was asked.
Yeah, I just was kind of curious because currently right now we are working on recarpeting some bedrooms, and we're going to we pulled some carpet out in our living room too, but the floorboards, the wood underneath is really good, so we're actually going to just resand. So that's just a curious question. It's kind of ironic that came up, and that's something that's happening in my life.
There you go.
That's fantastic. All right. Well, hey, Blake, I think maybe we will wrap this up right here, but before I do let you go, if people wanted to follow up with you on social media, where could they do that?
Alrighty, so if you want the Facebook page, it is Porter Blake, just had to remind myself, Porter Blake Professional Wrestler on Facebook, and then on Instagram and Twitter, the handle is at Porter Blake 8 because unfortunately the 5 was taken, and so had to go with the 8. But yeah,
fantastic.
Porter Blake 8 on Instagram and Twitter.
All right, that sounds great, Porter Blake 8. All right, well, thank you once again for coming back onto RMP Radio, and of course, I will be seeing you in a short little while.
Indeed, you will. I'll see you soon.
Okay. Once again, a big thank you to Porter Blake for coming on to this episode of RMP Radio and letting all the listeners get to know just a little bit more about him outside of the wrestling ring. Well, before we go, let's pay some bills like they used to say back in the day. If you want to get some great, fantastic merchandise from your favorite Rocky Mountain Pro superstars, head over to the website at rmpwrestling.com. Click on the merchandise link, or you can even from your Amazon search for Rocky Mountain Pro, and you got all kinds of great choices to choose from there. And yes, there are even Porter Blake shirts and tanks and long sleeves. They're available to purchase. So that is the pick of the week there for you. If you want to attend a Rocky Mountain Pro show, we got a few more left for the month of November, Thursday the 14th and Thursday the 21st, and then that special edition on the Tuesday of Thanksgiving week. You want to get your tickets, head over to rmpwrestling.com, click on the events link, and you can purchase your tickets right there. If you do purchase them in advance, you do save yourself a few dollars, but you can always purchase tickets at the door. You just pay just a little bit more. You want to watch us, you can on twitch.tv/Rocky Mountain Pro. You can watch us on the Fight TV app or through Fight TV's website as well. You can view our videos on youtube.com/Rocky Mountain Pro. Also available on impactplus.tv and Right Now TV, as well as the Fight Network in the UK. If you want to follow us, everything stems from the website at rmpwrestling.com, and Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram all have the handle of The Rocky MTN Pro. And once again, that is The Rocky Mike Tango November Pro. Well, I want to thank you all for listening to this edition of RMP Radio, where pro wrestling is elevated.